had been married for 6 years when my husband disappeared. It was our anniversary. He left for work that morning in his usual way. A soft kiss on my forehead, a half-mumbled, "Love you, see you tonight," and the faint smell of his cologne lingering in the hallway after he closed the door. I remember thinking, this year, we're finally in a good place. We had struggled, financially, emotionally, even with trust. But lately, things had calmed. He had just started a new job at a private security firm. The pay was good. He seemed happier, focused. We had dinner plans that night. I even wore the dress he loved. I still see it in my closet sometimes, and I feel sick, because he never came home. At first, I assumed traffic, then maybe a flat tire. I texted, called again. No response. By midnight, I called the police. The next morning, they found his car abandoned near an industrial area downtown. Keys still in the ignition, doors locked, no signs of struggle. But no husband, no wallet, no phone, and no answers. The first few days were chaos. His work said he had never shown up that morning. No surveillance, no security logs. It was like he vanished into thin air between our front door and wherever he was supposed to be. His family was worried but strangely detached. His sister told me quietly, "This isn't the first time he's disappeared." What? I pressed her, but she refused to explain. I started asking myself questions I had tried to avoid over the years. Had he ever really been honest with me? The police began asking questions too. The kind that make you feel like you're the suspect. When was the last time we fought? Was there life insurance? Were there debts? Had he ever cheated? The truth? Yes, we had fought. Often. Yes, there was a small life insurance policy. Yes, he had cheated. At least once that I knew of. Maybe more. But I had forgiven him. Or maybe I just pretended to. We were trying to move on, or so I thought. The detective on the case, Detective Hall, wasn't unkind, but I could feel it in his voice, the suspicion. Sometimes people leave because they want to, he said, but sometimes they leave because they're afraid of something. That line stuck with me. Afraid of what? In the days after he vanished, I started digging. I went through his desk, his drawers, the glove compartment of the old Toyota he sometimes drove instead of his company vehicle. I checked every corner of our home. I even searched the attic. What I found didn't make me feel any better. First, I found an old phone, one I'd never seen before, taped to the underside of his sock drawer. It was dead, but I had it charged at a phone repair shop the next day. It had no SIM card, but there were photos still on it. Most of them were of a woman. Attractive, early 30s, always in cafes, hotel lobbies, cars. Sometimes my husband was in the photos with her, sometimes not, but it was obvious they were involved, and not just physically. In one video, he's holding the phone low, secretly recording her talking. You think I care what she finds out? Just get the money and walk. She's too blind to see it anyway. She meant me, and my husband just laughed in response. My stomach dropped. I realized I'd been living with a man I didn't know. Not really, but it got worse. There were documents stored on that phone, bank transfers, emails under a fake name, and even a photo of a passport. Not his, foreign. I Googled the name. It belonged to a man who died 5 years ago in another country. Who was he planning to become? I took the phone to Detective Hall. He looked at it quietly for a long time. Then he asked me, "Was your husband in the military?" I shook my head. "No? Why?" "Because some of these emails are encrypted," he said. "This isn't casual cheating. It might be something else." That something else turned out to be a string of investigations. Fraud, stolen identities, and suddenly, My missing husband wasn't just a missing person, he was a potential suspect in multiple federal-level crimes. The problem? No one could prove anything, and he was still gone. No sightings, no bank activity, no communication, nothing. It had been 3 weeks since he vanished when I got the first message. No sender, no return address, just a single sentence in the body of an email. He was never yours to begin with. Distressed. I didn't sleep that night. The email haunted me. I checked the headers. The IP was masked, bounced through servers in multiple countries. Someone had gone out of their way to make sure I couldn't trace it. I showed it to Detective Hall the next morning. He stared at it a moment and said, gravely, "This isn't just someone messing with you. Serious. This feels like a warning." Confused. A warning? Whispering. From whom? Thoughtful. And for what? 2 days later, gasp. I saw her. The woman from the photos on the secret phone. She was sitting across the street from my house in a small gray car, pretending to read a book. She had a red scarf around her neck, just like in one of the photos. I stood in my living room, frozen, staring through the blinds. I grabbed my phone to take a picture, but by the time I raised it, frustrated, she was gone. It happened again the next day, annoyed, a different car, same woman, same scarf. Frantic, I called Hall, frantic. He sent a cruiser, but again, exasperated, she was gone. That night, I locked every door and window. I didn't sleep. I just sat in the kitchen with a knife in my lap, whispering, listening for noises. Around 3 a.m., short pause. Someone knocked on the door. Softly. 3 soft knocks. Long pause. Then silence. I didn't answer. I waited. I watched. Nothing. The next morning, ominous. I found an envelope taped to the outside of my front door. Inside was a photo, shocked, of me. Whisper sleeping, horrified, taken from inside the house. I was done being passive, determined. I left my home and moved in with my sister across town. I stopped answering unknown calls, changed all my passwords, even got a burner phone. Meanwhile, Detective Hall had dug up something new, disbelief. My husband apparently had withdrawn large sums of cash over the past year from an account I never knew existed. Shocked. Over $200,000 gone, hidden, untraceable. He had also taken multiple short trips out of town, all unreported to me, always under different aliases. Some flights, some bus tickets, always carefully planned, always alone, ominous. Or so we thought. Breakthrough. Then Hall found footage. The man in the video haunted me. There was something in the way he stood, the way he gestured when he spoke. Like someone I'd seen in passing or perhaps heard stories about, but I couldn't place him. Detective Hall kept digging. He ran facial recognition through several databases, but nothing came up immediately. The man was either clean or very good at hiding. 2 days later, Hall called me. "I need you to come in, now." When I arrived, he had 2 files on his desk, one with my husband's name, the other with mine. "I didn't want to show you this until I had confirmation," he said, opening the second file. Inside were surveillance photos. Me, at work, at home, at the grocery store, some taken months ago, some just days before my husband disappeared. Someone had been following me for a long time, and not just watching. Inside the file were printed transcripts of phone calls, my calls, with my sister, with my best friend, even with the detective himself. I looked up at Hall, horrified. "How did you get this?" "I didn't," he said. "These were mailed anonymously, to me. Someone wants us to know they've been listening." He leaned in, eyes serious. "I think your husband was into something much bigger than we imagined, and whoever he was working with, or working against, they haven't forgotten you." Then came the biggest blow. Hall finally ID'd the older man from the motel footage. His name was Victor Resnick, a former intelligence officer from Eastern Europe, wanted in several countries for arms dealing, identity laundering, and political bribery. In other words, extremely dangerous. If my husband was involved with him, it meant this wasn't just about infidelity, fraud, or a double life. It was about survival. But why leave me in the middle of it? Why not take me with him? Or at least warn me? Unless he didn't care. Then something unexpected happened. A woman came forward, a waitress from a small diner 2 towns over. She said she had seen my husband recently. 2 weeks after his disappearance, she claimed he came in with a different woman. Not the red scarf woman, someone else. They ate quickly. He looked thinner, anxious, like he was trying not to be recognized. When she saw his face on a missing persons board days later, she called the tip line. We got the security footage. It was him, and he was very much alive. The footage from the diner was undeniable. It was him, my husband, looking over his shoulder constantly, wearing a baseball cap low over his eyes, sitting across from a woman I'd never seen before. She looked worried. They spoke in hushed tones. And then, something chilling. At one point, he slid a key card across the table to her, a hotel key. We requested access to the room. It had already been cleaned, rebooked, and used again, but Hall was able to get surveillance footage from the hallway. Again, there he was, my husband, entering the room with the mystery woman. 2 hours later, she left, alone. He never came out. We ran through footage for the next 48 hours. Nothing. It was like he vanished into thin air, again. Inside the room, forensics found something. Tucked behind the toilet tank was a sealed envelope, water-stained but still legible. It was addressed to me, in his handwriting. I opened it with trembling hands. If you're reading this, it means I couldn't finish what I started. I never meant to lie to you, not at first. But things spiraled fast. I was offered a chance to clear debts, start over. I thought I could play both sides, but I was wrong. They're dangerous, and I became a liability. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. There's more I wanted to say, about Claire, about the money, about what we were planning, but I don't think I'll get the chance now. If they come to you, tell them nothing. You know nothing. You truly don't. And that might save your life. M. I stared at the note, heart racing. Claire. So that was the new woman's name. The one from the diner. The one he trusted. Who was she? A lover? An accomplice? A victim like me? Detective Hall kept quiet as I handed him the letter. I could tell it changed something in his mind. Later, he admitted what I feared most. I don't think your husband disappeared. I think he's hiding, and I think someone's helping him stay gone. That night, I went home alone. I knew someone had been watching the house before, but this time I felt it stronger, like eyes were following me from the dark, like I wasn't alone, even inside my own skin. And that was when I found the second envelope, not hidden, just placed on my bed. It wasn't sealed. Inside, a photo of Claire, bound, blindfolded, crying, with a message on the back. Still think he loved you? The photo shook me to my core. Claire, tied, blindfolded, terrified. Someone had taken this recently. The timestamp on the image metadata confirmed it, just 3 days ago, and they'd left it on my bed, not mailed, not texted, physically placed, which meant they'd been in my house again. They wanted me to know. I drove to the police station immediately. Hall was waiting. I handed him the photo and he didn't speak for a full minute. Then he looked at me and asked something unexpected. "Did your husband ever talk about the cabin?" My blood went cold. Years ago, he'd inherited a small, run-down cabin from his uncle, a remote place deep in the woods 2 hours from town. He said he never went there. Too old, no plumbing, no power. I'd only been there once with him, briefly. It was cold and abandoned. Or so I thought. We drove up there the next morning. Hall brought backup, guns drawn. The place looked the same, empty, dusty, forgotten. But then, in the kitchen under a rotting floorboard, we found a trap door, hidden under a rug. A cellar, with a steel padlock, freshly scratched. We forced it open. The air was stale and bitter. A narrow staircase led us down into darkness, and then we heard it. Crying. Claire was down there, barely conscious, shivering, starving, but alive. She'd been drugged and chained for over a week, left with just enough water and protein bars to keep her from dying. She didn't speak at first, just clung to me trembling, but later, in the hospital, she told us everything. Claire had met Michael, my husband, almost 2 years earlier. He had told her he was in witness protection, that he couldn't use his real name, that he was being hunted for doing the right thing. She fell in love, moved with him, helped him hide. She believed everything, until one day, he confessed, not to being a hero, but a fraud. A man who had double-crossed a criminal syndicate, stolen money, faked debts, and staged threats to manipulate people, including her, including me. But he said he had a plan to disappear for good, with Claire, and with the money. She got scared, threatened to go to the police, so he chained her up instead. There was more. Claire said he planned to pin everything on me, the money, the lies, even her disappearance. He had fake documents ready, forged transfers, staged emails, even fake love letters written from me to Claire, a story that would make me sound like the jealous wife, threatening the mistress. He'd disappear as the victim, and I'd go down for it all. But something had changed his mind. Claire didn't know what. She said he grew paranoid, panicked. Then one night, he said goodbye, drugged her one last time, and vanished. We issued an international. Weeks passed. No sign of Michael. Claire stayed with her sister in a secure location. I moved in with a friend temporarily. My house felt poisoned, like he was still watching, still in the walls, still waiting. Detective Hall called every few days, but there was never any progress. One afternoon, a call came from customs at the Vancouver airport. They'd flagged a man, traveling under the name Eric Dalton, with forged papers. The fingerprints matched. They had Michael, or so they thought. When I got there, the man already had a lawyer. He denied everything. His papers were nearly flawless. Even his face looked different. Subtle surgery, just enough to create doubt. But the fingerprints didn't lie, or so we believed. Until we found out. The man had burned his fingertips months earlier. The match had been made from a single, partial print on an old cigarette lighter found in his coat pocket. A mistake, a coincidence. It wasn't him. My husband had vanished. There were rumors, sightings in Belize, a whisper in Argentina, cash withdrawals in Eastern Europe. But every time the trail heated up, it turned to smoke. One night, nearly a year later, I received a package, no return address. Inside, a USB drive and a Polaroid. The photo showed Michael, sitting on a boat, holding a drink, smiling, a woman's legs visible in the corner. The message on the back read, "Still think you ever knew me?" The USB had one file, a voice recording. It was him. If you're hearing this, I'm long gone. I wanted to say goodbye, the real kind, not the fake apologies or the self-pitying nonsense. Just this. I never meant to stay forever. Not with you, not with her, not with anyone. I was always looking for the next exit. And you? You were my favorite stop on the way out. You can stop looking now. I won't be found. That was the last I ever heard from him. The story went quiet. The police closed the case. Claire rebuilt her life. And I began mine again, too. But sometimes, when I walk alone at night, I get this strange feeling, like someone's behind me. And sometimes, when I check my rearview mirror, I see nothing, but I still hear that voice. I won't be found.